So we're live again. All right, we're live again. So we'll try this again.
Give folks a minute to find us.
Watch this be just terminally broken and we're not even going to be able to have a show today.
Oh, I hope not.
That would be just perfect, wouldn't it?
It'd be about par.
Yeah, that'd be just about right for the course. So
Well, someone's back. One person just signed in.
it's been an interesting week,
Hi, Christy.
so to speak. Made a couple of
Hello, Barb. Good
made
to see
a
you.
couple of purchases this week that we've been putting off for a while. One of them was a new freezer, an upright freezer that hopefully we'll get Tuesday.
Mhm.
And
Hi, Legacy.
it
Good to
seems
see you.
it seems that freezers are kind of hard to come by around here right now. I was looking at all the big box stores, and Kate found one at a local business called Furniture Liquidators
No,
or something like
appliance liquidator.
Appliance Liquidators, but it's obviously a kind of like a scratch and dent place.
And it's
and,
brand new. Right out of the box. So we're not going to have to. It's not a used one.
But I had gone through Lowe's
Hi, Ellie.
and thought I had one purchased.
And Home Depot we looked at too.
And then when I called to arrange delivery, I'm told that it won't be delivered until February.
We're happy to take our money.
And in fact, it already had.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of went ballistic on them about that. So we got that one canceled after a bit of an argument. And
got our money back almost right away. And
Yeah.
so I had to wait 2 or 3 weeks.
that was the thing I was hollering about was, well, you've already got my money, so let's get this thing reversed. And, normally whenever you're dealing with a business, it takes a week or two to get your money back. Well, they managed to get my money back to me within just, literally
hours,
literally minutes after I screamed and yelled. The other thing that we have purchased, which is still hopefully coming in from Lowe's and should be here around the
28.
28th of September for installation, is we've got a new stove, finally.
Yay.
Kate has been really struggling with the stove that we have, and it was finally down to like 2 burners working and the oven sorta. And the last time that she did some pressure canning, it wouldn't get up to pressure or wouldn't hold properly. And Kate was thinking that maybe it was the pressure canner, but she went down to our local agriculture agent, and they checked out her weight and everything and said it was okay. So it turns out it's probably just was the burner wasn't getting hot enough, even though it was the large burner and it was on high. So that kind of tore it. And that's so hopefully come the 28th, we'll get
Hi, Lisa.
a new stove installed, and we'll have a new freezer for all the chickens that Kate is going to be bringing back from the Broussards whenever she goes down there in just a couple weeks.
2 weeks.
Uh,
Oh my goodness, Legacy bought a whole bunch of furniture and won't be delivered until November the 7th.
Huh. Yeah.
And Lisa Johnson ordered a new stove in June. It wasn't delivered until August. And Brett
Yeah.
had to fight with the guys at HughesNet to get rid of their service. People around are just
Yeah.
they're not giving the service they should.
And that's part of the reason I bring that up is because that is a bit of a rant, is that we are just being manipulated by just about everybody that we do business with. It seems like, the old saying about the customer being right, not no mo. Not no mo. If you find somebody that treats you decently as a retailer, you should value that relationship because they're few and far between.
Which is the reason why I went to the appliance outlet, liquidator outlet, because I've dealt with them for the last 12 or 15 years every time I needed a new kitchen appliance. And they've always been wonderful.
And Barb, what oven pan are you talking about? Do you have a broiler pan in yours, by the way?
I don't know. I didn't even look. I doubt it because it's a 2-element oven.
Yeah, but you still have a broiler pan, that.
I don't know. I didn't look.
Oh, okay. Well,
Since we don't broil, I just
maybe we do, maybe we don't. Let's see.
got the service Okay, the broiler pan. Okay. Think the big stove
Well,
don't have any plug.
I try to be patient as well. I've found I always get, well, most of the time, get better results dealing with salespeople if you come at them in a friendly fashion and try to understand things from their point of view and don't go all purple faced and hyper on them right off the bat. But there are times whenever they just kind of drive you to it. For example, this girl that I was talking to the other day, she wouldn't shut up. I mean, I was trying to either ask questions or get clarification, and she just would not shut up. And I finally I can't remember her name. Let's say it was Tiffany. I said, Tiffany, would you please be quiet for a moment and allow me to speak? And she kind of, oh, okay. And then I finally managed to make a point, but I literally had to tell her to shut the up. So,
And he wasn't quiet about it.
It just, it amazes me sometimes the arrogance and the disregard with which customers are held by people that, we're taking our business to them. We're giving them our money.
Right.
Granted, it's for a product or a service, but, if they don't want to be decent to me, I'll go somewhere else. And it's a simple, and Kate just proved that, I prefer local too, but when you get up into these big ticket items, oftentimes it's just better to go with a big store. But she proved me wrong on this one and got not a better deal, but at least it's going to be delivered and set up and everything a lot quicker. So,
Brett, it took me, before the COVID thing started, we were looking to get our garage roof repaired. And it took me almost 6 weeks to get four
get them in a chokehold.
For estimates, and then we can't do it. So,
hey, Joshua, good to see you, and everybody else too. I made a couple of notes about things that I thought I wanted to talk about, but I don't know. When you start thinking about, okay, if I want to rant, one of the first things that I would rant about would be disability rights. When I was in Florida, I worked for the Governor's Commission on Disabilities, which was the only agency in the whole country that had a Governor's Commission on Disabilities. And our job was to basically be a point of contact for any and all disabled persons in the state of Florida, all 67 counties, anybody out there.
Any kind of disability.
And we had thousands of sources of information and relief and help and so on and so forth to try to pass on to these people regarding their situations. Well, I worked there for about 3 years, and I took, some of the most tragic calls that you can possibly imagine from people who were being discriminated against, being taken advantage of, being treated like crap, being ignored, having their possessions stolen, having their life savings ripped off by some outfit that comes in and does nothing and then runs off with their money. Even friends and relatives ripping people off. But a lot of it was about medical care. A lot of it was about housing. A lot of it was about various services and things that were supposed to be there for those with disabilities. Well, I'll tell you what, in Florida anyway, I used to tell people who were wanting to come to Florida, I said, whatever services that you're receiving there in the state that you're in, whatever funding you're getting from the state that you're in, whenever you cross the Florida line, throw it all out the window because you're going to be starting over again. And it was incredible. And some of these people had been in Florida for years who had come from places where they had really decent services, and they came to Florida and all of a sudden they got none. And I'm talking like Medicaid, even Medicare, various support things that they, had like in-home daycare or, transportation assistance, things of those sorts. It just disappeared, just went away whenever they came to Florida. And So I literally, I used to try to talk people out of moving to Florida.
Those fundings that are quote unquote federally funded have to be requested through each state. And if the state does not request them or does not request a high enough level of them, the people in that state don't get them.
Well, it was a lot of it came down to the funding. They would just run out of money. I mean, for example, there was this one outfit that would supposedly help out with rent, and people that are disabled and elderly and so on, oftentimes they do get wrapped around the axle and they can't pay their rent. Well, there was this one state agency that, the whole year was supposed to help people with this. Their allocated funds were always gone within 2 months. So then you got 10 months of telling everybody, no, there's no money there for that. What's the point? What good was that agency? I mean, it was there. It was staffed 12 months of the year.
Paid salaries.
The salaries were paid to the
rent
people that
and
worked there.
phones and all of that.
And I would consistently I would give that number to folks, and they would call me back and say they're out of money. And I would say they just got funded, but it was gone. And that's just one example. I mean, there were dozens of different programs that supposedly helped, maybe just with utilities, or maybe they just helped with childcare, or maybe they just helped with medical supplies and things of that sort.
I'll be right back, folks.
And the money would be gone virtually as soon as it showed up. So the state could say that they had these services, but the state did not allocate any funds for it. So that was, it was just ludicrous. Okay, Josh, paid him for his work and thought we left him. Stole your mom's wallet with debit cards, cash. I don't suppose you could go look this guy up with a baseball bat in hand, could you? Wow. I mean, and the things that people would steal. I mean, I'll tell you tragically, this one story, this guy literally had been put out on the street out of his house. He was in a power wheelchair. First day he's out, he gets mugged and his power wheelchair is stolen. And he is left laying on the ground underneath an overpass, and managed to get, on the phone to me. There was nothing I could do for him, but he had been beaten up and his wheelchair stolen, probably sold for $200 to a pawn shop. And here this man is just now can't walk. I used to drive home oftentimes crying. I had a technique for going home. It was about 10 miles from where I worked to get home. And I would drive home and I would be listening to techno music. And I'd have the windows down. I'd be driving pretty much fast as I could legally. And I would just imagine all of those cares and all those concerns blowing out my window. But I'll tell you what, sometimes I was successful and sometimes I wasn't. Now, at that time, I was living alone. And
That's before we married.
When I would get home, the first thing I'd do is I'd walk in and check on Kareem and Bravo. And there were some days where they'd come right up to the front of the cage, ready for me to let them out.
Hi, Susanna.
Really happy to see me. There'd be other days when I'd come in where I just had not been successful in putting all that away. They'd be on the back of their cage, literally have their back to me and be kind of just looking over their shoulder. Didn't want to have anything to do with me, wouldn't come to me. And if I put my arm in, they'd literally strike at me. But they could feel or see, because I believe that we have auras that birds can see. They could tell that I was still pretty well screwed up emotionally. And there were days that were just really, really terrible. It was, in a lot of ways, the best job I ever had and the worst job, because I did manage to help people, but so many times I was unable to help people that it was just tragic. But I enjoyed the work and I hated the job at the same time, if you know what I mean. But yes, Amy, it is sad to see what this world is coming to. One of the things I want to bring up, and I'd kind of like to ask you all's opinion on this. If you remember back to when, first of all, when we were first on for just a few minutes, I mentioned that Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, which is a great loss to our country and to the Supreme Court. Well, the last time we lost a Supreme Court justice, all of the Republicans were screaming and yelling that there should, and this was like, I don't know, 200 and some odd days from election, that it should wait until after the elections before a successor was chosen. Now, these same Republicans are saying, with 40 some odd days left until the election, we need to get a Supreme Court justice named and on the bench now. So, no, this is something that should wait for the next administration, regardless of it how it goes. Well, hello, Jeff and Cricket, whoever is here, or both of you.
Hi, Happy.
Well, I'm doing all right, Happy. I think you had a birthday a day or two ago too, didn't you?
Today is his birthday.
Today, happy birthday, or
Happy
yesterday.
birthday.
Yep. But excuse me.
Hello, John. Good to see you too.
Yeah, it says not you, Kate. You're not the old fart.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
We know who the old fart is around here. That's me. But so anyway, the rights of those with disabilities ties in very closely with the rights of the elderly. I've always said that the world belongs to the young, and it does. If you remember back, if those of you who are about my age, in their 70s or late 60s, when we were coming up as early baby boomers, we wanted to take over the world whenever we were hitting our late teens and early 20s. And, we thought those of the greatest generation that had their run, it was time for us. So we pretty much took charge and tried real hard to kind of overthrow society. And we did. And then as time has gone on, we're now being marginalized. And those that are of the younger generations now look at us like we're just ignorant old fools that have no grasp of reality.
Karma's a real pain.
And in some cases, they're right, because we have lost touch. I know I have, rather deliberately, as a matter of fact.
Hi, Irene.
I decided quite some time ago that there was just too much garbage out there, and garbage in, garbage out. So I started restricting what I take in. Now, yes, that does make me more ignorant about what's going on in the world around me, but I pick and choose what I want to be interested in nowadays. And most of it probably makes no difference to anybody else. But I just don't have time for all the crap that's going on in today's society. I really don't. Yep. What's that, Iron Horse? Which one are you talking about? Don't get started on what subject.
Hi, Jennifer. Good to see you.
What subject are you talking about? Because y'all can rant too. This is an open day. The only thing I thought of is, once you put it on the internet, it's there forever. So I got to thinking about, okay, Dave, then that means that you might want to have a little bit of care about what you say.
Yeah.
But I tried to choose some topics, and of course, ageism and the rights of those with disabilities are obviously near and dear to our hearts. Okay, preparedness. Wind is supposed to stay around 25 to 30. Yeah, Amy, y'all have had enough rain for right now, huh? Celtic, I've stopped watching. I don't watch national news at all, ever. I get my paper delivered electronically. I might scan the headlines a couple times a week, but I've just kind of stopped taking in news. I mean, I get bombarded with it enough on Facebook and various other messages that I get. I'll tell you what, Jeff, the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, is another thing that I can get on my horse about because I know quite a bit about it. I've actually been to school for the ADA because one of the underpinnings of the job that I had when I worked for the Commission on Disabilities was we had to pretty much be experts on the ADA. And it is a toothless law.
Unfortunately.
It's there, it's the law, but there are no enforcement provisions. So even if someone is deliberately violating the ADA, it is extremely difficult to get anybody to actually adhere to it. One of the big topics that we used to get all the time was, well, like service animals, and I can go off on a rant on that very easily. But people would abuse that to no end. They would say, they'd go into restaurants with their dog and want to sit them in a chair or literally sit them on the table, which is a no-no. And then they would rant and rave that, this is my emotional support animal. You can't throw me out. Well, the ADA is very clear and specific. A service animal was not for emotional support. It was for blind, deaf, those with seizures, things of that sort. That's how it was originally written. And then it got bastardized. But those animals were never allowed to be on the furniture. They were to be either under a chair, under the table, beside their owner, whatever. But people just took that and ran with it and abused the crap out of it. And that used to be one of the big calls that I'd take to commission, was about ADA violations as far as service animals. And more than a few times it'd be the person that was being, quote, violated, and they'd be calling up in a tither. And I would tell them, no, you're wrong. You do not have that right. And then they'd start screaming and yelling at me. I said, look, I'm telling you what the ADA says. Now, how you want to interpret that and how you want to abuse it and how you want to take it and use it for your own purposes is up to you. But you are not entitled to this. And boy, they would really go off on me. Okay. If one can't breathe in a face mask, do they still need to wear it to the store? Very nebulous area. Very nebulous.
Enjoyed it, Joshua.
There's no way to know. I mean, that is not a law. It is just a guideline. So it's up to you. It's something you got to work out on case by case basis. But yeah, there are exceptions, I'm sure. If you can.
I would imagine if you could get a doctor
and-
to write something, you could take it to the store.
And Christy, well, that's another thing. Doctors used to write scripts. This is an emotional support dog, that, it doesn't cost the doctor anything to write that. But medical exceptions, yes. And Christy, yes, people who abuse privileges mess it up for those who do have it. That's absolutely true. Fun flying this morning. You just got back, had a good lunch. Josh flying. Okay, well, cool. Hope you had wings.
Christy, I made a video a couple of weeks ago on watermelon lemonade. And I told folks that they could substitute strawberries for the watermelon, and it works very well. I've enjoyed it. Now Josh says he's enjoyed it, and I've had several other people. So,
Happy, we've already rebooted once. I'm hoping that it's on your end. Maybe you want to go out and come back in again. And Amy said she's not buffering either.
either it's Christy or Barb.
So I'm thinking maybe it's you,
Susanna
Happy.
is.
But I'm going to try not to start over again.
Thanks for the insight of the ADA. I've had good police assistance.
Yep.
Backing up service animal rights.
Yeah, it's people will call the cops and say, well, I'll call the police about this. Go right ahead. Because the thing is, police can't do anything. All they can do is they carry an ADA card, at least in Florida. And all it says is what the basic rules are. And then it comes down to interpretation. So, if they've got the animal on a table or on a chair, boom, you can boot them. That's a violation. Clear, simple, easy. But if they're adhering to that, and they've got the animal, like under their chair or beside them, and they claim that it's an emotional support animal, you're in a gray area. So it's really tough. It's really tough to enforce the ADA because it really has no teeth. The law has no teeth.
Barb, my folks are doing well. So we're going to a doctor's appointment tomorrow, all three of us. We'll see how that goes. But right now, they're doing well.
I got to tell you about this morning.
Thanks.
I'm laying there about 8:30 this morning, sound asleep. Kate comes in and shakes my shoulder, wakes me up. Says, your coffee's on the dresser. I'm getting dressed and ready to go. I got to get Mom to the doctor and all this kind of stuff. And she breezes into the bathroom to start getting ready. And I said, Kate, you do realize today is Sunday, right?
I lost a day sometime last week, and I have been a day ahead in my head ever since.
So, and she'd have left. She'd have probably gone out the door if I hadn't said anything.
I would have.
Because yesterday, she's had a day missing for a couple of days because yesterday she thought was Sunday. So today she was all ready to get geared up and
I was ready to
go out and take care of business, boy.
First thing I did was get my Dr. White and then I trained cricket for
There you go.
behavior.
There you go. You know, and
You did
thank
it right, Jeff.
God for people that do that, because that's being a responsible service animal owner. So there are those out there that all they want to do is they just want to bring their little Fifi along to their restaurant, and if they can get away with it, they'll twist the law whatever way it works for them and get their doctors to write them a note saying that they need to have this dog within 6 inches of their mouth. I don't know.
Country girl with a good service dog. Pit bull she found tied in an alley in Houston, Texas, from being dehydrated. Good for country girl.
Yeah, good for her.
We had a friend that used to have a little tiny dog. What was that dog called? What kind of
Oh, a
dog?
Yorkshire
A
Terrier.
Yorkshire Terrier that she took with her everywhere.
She
And I
carried in
mean
her. She
everywhere.
carried in her. Well, she had what looked like a purse.
Yeah, but it was a dog carrier.
It used to piss me off because if we went out to dinner or whatever,
She'd bring the dog.
she'd bring the dog
Take
in
the
and
dog to church
put
with
it
her.
in the purse. Now, granted, the dog was quiet, never made much noise or anything, but it used to just. I mean, she knew what I did for a living. It used to just piss me off that she'd take advantage of it that way.
And I agree, Jeff.
Yeah.
Explaining what a service dog is and how they should be, quote unquote, approached or whatever, that takes a lot of explanation. A lot of people just don't realize it.
Amy has 63 service meat chickens.
Down to 63. Wow.
And Big Wave, you're absolutely right. There are parts of society that have lost touch with reality. That is so true. So true. Yep. And the thing
welcome,
is,
Kevin.
and the only part of reality that they want to grasp is what they want to embrace. And unless you embrace those same parts of reality, then they'll throw you off a cliff.
I'm glad you don't bring them with you anywhere, Amy, because birds are hard to clean up after.
63 service chickens.
Yeah. Get my birds a service animal.
Yeah, I can see me going around with
Dandy. I need
Crib.
Dandy as a service animal.
Crib on my shoulder. This is my service bird. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured they would. North Star Preparedness, Amy, take them into the kitchen. We're going to be doing that in 2 weeks, Sean.
You're kidding. Birds were. Now, I'll tell you what. There are people, and I talked to some of these folks in Florida. Miniature horses can be service animals, as can miniature pigs.
Oh, how cute.
So they've got all kinds. Now, I once got a call from a guy. He had a little ball python, and he wanted that to be declared as service reptile. And I said, I don't think you got much of a chance, pal. But I need this snake. No. He wanted his service snake. So I tried to set him straight. Whether he ever did it or not, I don't know. But I used to get some very strange calls, folks. I mean it. I'd get very strange calls.
I'm wondering if Dandy can get me certified as a service human. 'Cause I take him everywhere I can, and he certainly depends on me for a lot.
Yeah. Now, Iron Horse. I've read a couple articles and seen some videos on service horses. Yes, they are. They can be very effective. They can be very effective. Yep. There you go. Husband is an emotional service person. Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. I wonder if I can get you certified.
I think we need to go the other way around. You're my emotional support person.
Well, so far nobody's kicked us out of the restaurants.
That's true. But I'm not sitting on the floor either. So
True.
Developmental services workers, that count for being a service human? Yeah, I'm afraid it does. Yeah. Yep. If you're working in developmental services, you are definitely an emotional support person.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. And good on you for working in that field, because that's
That's a hard field to be in.
That's a tough one. I dealt with a lot of mental health professionals and developmental disability specialists and things of that sort when I was working there in Florida.
I had a
I have
personal
a great deal of respect for everybody that works in that field.
I had a personal run-in with the ADA when I was many years ago. I was working with a large telecommunications company, and I had an accident at home, injured my back, and I was in a wheelchair for 9 months. And I was able to go to work, and I discovered that the only ladies' room on the floor available, whether you were disabled or not, was behind a fire door that had to be pulled out and go into a hallway and pull out another door to actually go into the ladies' room.
Yep.
And I raised Cain because I couldn't pull that door open from the wheelchair. It just wasn't possible. And I was told, we have a ladies available, and that's all the ADA says we have to do. That's all we're going to do.
That's right. Now there's the key word. A lot of people feel that like reserved stalls and things of that sort are reserved or designated as, handicapped accessible, as being reserved for those with disabilities. That's not true. They are available for those with disabilities.
Right.
So, I once, this was at a nightclub, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I went in, and the only one that was open was the disabled stall. So I went in and took care of business, and I opened the door, and there was a guy in a wheelchair there, and he was giving me the dirtiest look. I mean, just like I was scum of the earth. And I looked at him, and he kind of started to wheel in and ran into my leg and stuff, and, was kind of being real arrogant and pushy. And I leaned over and I said, friend, I said, this stall is available for the disabled, not reserved. Get off your freaking high horse. He backed up. So there it is. I mean, right there. There are those with disabilities who will also take advantage. So it runs in both directions. So, it's a slippery slope either way. You've got those that, they'll take a reserved parking spot for the disabled right in front of the store because I'm only running in for a minute. And then there are those that their disabilities are not entirely visible, and they will very legally take a spot there, and somebody will start ragging them about, you don't look disabled, why are you parking there? It's a strange time we live in when people get up in arms over things like that. It's whatever happened to just being nice.
That's gone the way of a lot of other good things. It's gone.
Yep. And I don't know if we'll ever get it back. I don't know. I don't think we will. Anyway.
Well, my boss solved the problem for me in that when he knew I'd go to him and say, I need to get to the ladies' room, he would go and open the doors for me and stand out in the hall until I told him I was ready to come back out. He was a great guy. He did a lot of things to help me out, but not everybody in that building who was disabled had understanding bosses or helpful bosses. And I thought it was not right. So.
Well, Amy, you're absolutely right. The world is not the same as it used to be, and in most ways, that's a good thing. If you do go back and you start looking at the 50s and 60s, and we think of those now as the good old days, they really weren't all that good in many respects. I mean, the suppression of rights and the discrimination against various groups and things of that sort was atrocious. And
I agree, Barb.
It was, we needed to make some changes as far as civil rights and just basic human rights. But those feelings have now gone to where my rights override your rights. No matter what you say, it has to be done my way. And that's not right. So
that would fit Celtic.
Belgium horse. There you go. Yeah, that'd be a
big
good
guy.
one.
He needs a big animal.
Horse. Yep. I don't think many people would argue with it. This is my service horse. Oh, okay, fine. Yep. Absolutely, Christy. A little kindness. You know, I try to approach pretty much every transaction, be it public or private, from a standpoint of kindness, and just because you get better results. And you know, if you're looking at somebody with a smile rather than anger or fire in the eyes, you generally tend to get a better result. Big cleanup to me now. Yeah.
Yep, that's right, Barb. We do.
Yeah. And Ruth, I know exactly what you mean. And
We
it
have a
is
black too.
tragic that, there are many disabilities that are, mine are visible now, but I was disabled for quite a while before it was really visible to the naked eye.
And mine are not visible, but I am 100% disabled.
Yep. And there are times when it does show whenever she's got trouble getting around, but more often than not, she looks pretty normal out on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a handicap placard on the truck and all that stuff. And I've always kind of felt, well,